today we're talking about the future of work. And the future of work, especially when it comes to technology. And who better to discuss this with than the man who was part of building the roadmap to the future of tech and of work here in Kenya, Mr. Bitange Ndemo. He's insisted on just being called Mr., not Doctor, even though he has many of those titles ahead of him. Thank you very much for joining us today on The Big Picture.
Thank you.
You know, we're talking about work. You've just recently gotten a new appointment to become the ambassador of Kenya to Belgium. Right? Congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to start with one question that comes from 26th of June 2014. And this was a statement that you published actually on Twitter. You said, every ambassador should have a target of getting at least 50,000 tourists from the host country. Is that a target that you're setting for yourself now in Belgium?
Well, it has changed because COVID changed a lot of things. The cost of airlines is gone up and stuff. But at least we should find a new target. And my new target is the result of what happened with COVID-19. What we saw is that the world can actually stop.
Yeah.
And if the world stops, what are the people thinking? People are thinking about themselves. Globalization had made it easier that we could import drugs from Europe, from other places. But what if everything stops like it did?
Yeah.
We should at least be producing some drugs locally. So some of the targets I have is that I'll make sure that we import almost 97% of our medicines that we require.
Yeah.
If I can play a role and say we can manufacture at least more than we do by creating collaborations with people, especially where I'm going, to come, we create those collaborations to produce local drugs. You saw what happened with the vaccine. Moderna has come. This is what we want to see, that Africa begins to do more. And some of us who would go to places where farming is big, we need to produce our own rice, we need to produce our own maize. The only way we can do it is to see what the others are doing outside there. Every ambassador should make sure that we get something like food security by leveraging technologies from other parts of the world. Others look into how to build capacity in producing our own medicine, how to build capacity in getting sufficient food for our people.
Given the dynamics of our population here, should we focus on having a more skilled workforce, or should the government focus on having more labor-intensive practices so that you can employ more people and then maybe the next generation of people can become more skilled? I don't know what you think about.
Everybody should be skilled, but it is the kind of skills that we talk to our young people. Some can become computer scientists, others can work in factories, but the factories are changing. Everything is changing. Actually, the watershed moment was COVID-19. The big animal is digitalization or digitization, where it has made life very easy for us. The conveniences that we have experienced are such that we are going forward and hoping that those who may not catch up would catch up.
On set, we've got Tracy Ponereri and Nyakerari Omari. They're from our fact-checking website, Pick Up Your Indie. So they're going to be doing a lot of fact-checking of some of the things that we're working on. What are the things that you guys are going to walk us through today in terms of how to be able to spot certain things that perhaps conflict with our own morals?
So, in this time and age, especially during this electioneering period, employment has become campaign fodder for the politicians. And also, everyone wants to live the American dream. So people are taking advantage and promoting fake scholarships and fake job ads. So we'll give you the telltale signs of a fake phishing link, and we'll also demonstrate how you can actually verify a link that has been sent to you.
Okay. Looking forward to that. I really hope that we'll be able to work that, because actually that's a very big thing. Dr. Ndemo, there's also someone else on stage.
Can I say one thing on that? Actually, the governments, and I think the candidates maybe haven't seen what the foreign policy is. Kenya's foreign policy now is that we need to create as many jobs out there for Kenyans here. That's why, for example, they are going to build a safe house in Saudi Arabia if there are abuses and stuff. They are seeing many young people go to Europe. You see the nurses to the UK, Qatar, which needs thousands of people, Belgium, which needs so many young people to work as engineers. So some of the ads may not be false, but you can use the embassies to validate and say, is this true? Are they looking for this? Ads from Europe, for example, where the population is older than we are here. Every country in Europe is looking for nurses. Canada, for example, is looking for 1.2 million immigrants to do the jobs. So you can have this information to fact check and say, could Canada be needing this? And say it could be that they are needing this. Then you use the embassy to find out.
One more person I want to just say to introduce. That gentleman over there, his name is Luis Alosa, sorry, Luis. And he's going to be doing a couple of things. We'll let you know what he's doing a little later. I want to get back into the discussion about employment. Teacher Service Commission is looking for 14,000 jobs.
Yes.
And an oversubscription of hundreds of thousands.
250,000 applicants, and we had only 15,000 openings.
Exactly. How do you resolve that? How do you fix that from your vantage point, knowing that there's a nexus between tech and employment? How do you fix something like that?
There is a lot of work that needs to be done. For example, content development, because going forward, people are going to teach their kids from home. Homeschooling is becoming popular. And why? Because there is there are new discoveries about the child. We don't get things at the same time. And I can tell you as a teacher, every class I teach, there is some 5% you actually don't need to teach because they know how to get the material. There's some other 20% you've got to teach, and they see the point and they get it and they begin to practice. There are others who will take longer to understand. They need support. They need materials at home to support, and they become as good as the other one. Our system has actually not looked at that until we created the CBC. That someone has to be competent in order for this person to move to the next level. The moment we deal with that issue, we would help every child to succeed, because some children have autism, which parents refuse to accept. Those needs to be accommodated in education system. So this number of many people who are applying, we need to take them into spaces where they can develop content. And this is now digitalization, which I said, a new space where we can do more. Then we look at our neighboring countries. We look at countries in Europe which need teachers. That's why the government is talking about jobs in foreign lands. We have never addressed it with our leaders.
Well, they're trying to address it now via their manifesto. Do you think that that's effective enough?
What they're saying cannot create jobs, because there are jobs actually. We have many problems, and the problems means opportunities for entrepreneurship, and when you build entrepreneurship, the jobs are there. So we now must say that if I were one of the presidential candidates, you say my first thing I do when I get into office, I would remove tax for new employees. Then number two is tax incentives for those who are creating employment. And there are so many ways of creating those tax incentives. They don't get to use it. They say we would create jobs. And then there is nobody who actually goes and says, this is how the jobs are created in the industry. The existing employers can employ more, and then we can create more opportunities. We can now do what the Ministry of Communication has been doing, the digital jobs, which is, we have 1.9 million young people working outside there. We now provide the skills. For example, if today you go online and say data analytics, thousands of jobs, but there are no Kenyans. There are no people to do it here. Why? Because the education system is like this, you know, it is not providing the skills necessary to do those jobs. So we must get the universities to move out of their comfort zone, go out to industry and find what industry requires. Then they come and train.
Still on manifestos. So the two main political formations are thinking about, on the one hand, as Mio, their route to creating jobs is through manufacturing. Not a lot of detail in terms of how they're going to be able to do that. Kenya Kwanza, through shoring up agriculture, production. Theirs is a little more detailed, but still very focused on the problem, which is the number of people who are unemployed or underemployed. You've talked about a few things that you do in terms of being able to create jobs. And I want to ask this to you maybe from the point of view of the vantage point that you have. And maybe this is an assumption. Someone like Dr. Bitange Ndemo can reach out to the handlers of Raila Odinga or the handlers of William Ruto and tell them, no, this is a false promise. Have you done that? And if you have tried, what's the response been?
Actually, I do it through writing, through discussions, through because what is going to be sexy going forward is food security. I mean, if there is no food, you would find the Sri Lankan thing happening here. How do we get food secure? You know, we are undermining food security in this country on a daily basis. By what? By land subdivision. You cannot, where I was born, where my sisters were born here, the average land size is less than 2 acres. What can you grow that is productive there? So we need to create space, large-scale production, economies of scale, you lower the cost of food, and that's how you feed the nation. Agriculture is going to be the biggest thing in the next 10 years. Big. Because Africa,
not just here.
Not just here, because Africa has 65% of the arable land globally. We can feed Europeans, we can feed Asians, and they have tried to come here to say, let's work together to produce for our people at home. Those are thousands of jobs. But we are more focused on saying, let us settle people, give them titles, take that huge land and chop it. What we should be talking is urbanization. To urbanize, give people houses in urban areas, get those who can be farmers to farm in large-scale production, then you feed these other people. You can't have 80% of the people in agricultural activity to feed 50%, when other countries are using less than 10% of the population to feed themselves and feed the rest of the world. This is the numbers we need to change, and then create the supply chain to get employment for everybody.
Now, we have our Data Protection Act here, but generally speaking, Africa feels like it's virgin territory for some of this kind of capitalism to take place. What are your fears and how do you mitigate against that?
My fears is that we are not moving very fast into the fourth industrial revolution. If I explain that slowly so that you understand. In the 90s, we had internet. That is the major technological cycle that created a lot of disruptions. We did not understand precisely what we will do with the internet. And neither was Europe or Asia. Americans did understand by developing the search engines, Googles and other things. They made so much money with that. But as they were creating that space, they were gathering our own data. And then came another cycle, mobility, where mobile phone, 2000, and again, most of us didn't quite understand. We thought the mobile was just for calling. They brought social media. Everybody was hooked. That was more data they were collecting from us, which they have used to monetize, and they created a lot of wealth for themselves. The aim is actually to muscle what these big companies have been doing for the past several years.
And to democratize that.
Democratize that, so that my data, I could sell it to them or refuse to sell it to them. That it would create a space where I'm able to manage that by myself. But we need to understand that. The problem is that how do you make everybody understand? And of course, we have other data from mobile and other stuff, because with mobility, mobile, I can understand where you live, where you visit, where you do everything. I need to have control of that. So this is what we are looking at. We need to begin to do innovations in that space, or else somebody else would do the innovation and bring it to us, space. And we're just consumers. We have a lot of very smart young kids. We don't invest in them. So foreigners actually invest in them more than we do locally, meaning that they would end up owning that, and they would incorporate our data protection laws into that space, or decide that they are not incorporating that because it's a foreign entity.
And interesting how, if you were to put it on a time scale very quickly, Dr. Ndemo, how much time do we have before that happens, before we become consumers and essentially passengers on this blockchain train?
We are doing very good. We have, I actually speak to so many. We had the Safaricom event in Sarit Center. I was talking to the young people who are coding in around blockchain solutions. We have a lot of young people. They are the ones who will now be coding even for other parts of the world. But we need to have a strategy on what we need to do with what we call the population dividend. We have the people to work, but those people who have money must now come and say, we need to work with these young people to create a global solution.
Instead of building more.
Yes, we are very close to that. There are several things that are being developed here. We need to invest more, for example, in mobile money, because everybody in the world is coming here to see how the CBDC would become as a retail solution. So we need to invest in our young people, create a population, a demographic dividend, which works for the entire world. And because of that, we can be able to have local solutions.
And we can be the innovators.
The innovators, yes.
Solution. We've been discussing work, and Tracy and Nyakerario have been talking about how to be able to fact check fake job applications. So Dr. Ndemo, give me a second while I find out what the top 4 are. So Tracy,
this is something that's a concern for a lot of young people, right? So you find an opportunity, you try and apply, and someone at the end of the line, someone's asking you for money, you get scammed. So how are we looking out for our young people out there? What are the things to look out for?
So these links are majorly sent on email.
Yes.
So the first red flag is when you're not the first to initiate the conversation, but they actually send you a link to apply for work.
Completely uninitiated by you.
Yes, but they are the ones who like spark the conversation between you two. That's something to look out for.
Red flag number one.
Red flag number one.
Okay.
Number two, if there are grammatical errors in the text, most of them have pidgin kind of English, which is, I'm not claiming anything, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
This is not to say that our Nigerian brothers are the scammers. There are scammers here as well.
But most of them have pidgin English, the ones we've come across.
All right. So funny characters in the URL.
No. This is actually grammar in the
within
text.
The body of the
within
text.
the body of the text.
Okay. Like work in Canada, small c, with job of your choice for free.
Grammatical errors.
Yes. So someone who doesn't know how to write properly, but they're trying to communicate the message very quickly.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
The third thing is if the URL is too short. Like look at this one. Home.club. That's really short.
All right.
But then there's a tool for that. It's called check short URL.
Okay.
So when you get that URL, then you paste it on that tool, and it will expand the URL, and you're able to pinpoint the exact destination of the URL. So
all right. So
that helps.
The exact destination now, if it's not Canada, it doesn't originate from somewhere that seems credible, then okay.
Like a job ad from Canada, but it pinpoints you to Kawangware. I mean, yes. Okay. Then the last one is if the link has funny characters.
Yeah.
These people who come up with these links always assume that we do not know because of the slash, the percentages, the numbers. So people will easily get fooled.
So like small changes. So like if it's my website, they'll be like John Allan Namu, maybe spell it wrongly.
Yes.
Okay.
Or add an E.
Yeah.
Allan, Yes. So there's also another tool for that. It's called URL Decoder.
URL Decoder.
Yes, that helps. It helps bring out the actual characters in the original website.
Okay.
Yes.
But they're prompted.
Yes.
They are prompted to do that because Canada announced they need 1.2 million immigrants.
Yes.
So that
prompts
them now to say, let them direct to us. We collect the
money. So that's a good point. Then it will probably start from some sort of, and it's like propaganda. Propaganda starts with a statement that's true or factual. Yes. Okay, ladies, all of these links, we can find them in the description for this video, right?
Yes.
All right. So folks, if you're looking for that kind of information with regard to what's going to be happening in terms of job searches, if you want to find credible job searches, check out the description in this link. Our guys at Social are going to also be sharing them in threads. Tracy Nyakerario, thank you. I'm sure there are a number of people who've been educated. I've been educated myself, all right? So let me finish this one with Dr. Ndemo. Dr. Ndemo, like I said, there were one or two questions that very quickly I wanted us to get through. Number one, central bank digital currency. Now, some people think that this is being built on the blockchain.
Yes, well, they don't have to do it on blockchain, but it would be nice if they did it on blockchain. If they did it on blockchain, it will be very expensive because of the mining aspect. So they will probably do it just like we're doing M-Pesa and mobile money across the world. It can be done on blockchain. It can be done without using blockchain.
So hopefully, as it gets cheaper, then we put it on a distributed ledger. But the second question that people ask of the digital currency is the question of digital surveillance. So if money is digital and you know who is spending what, right? On the one hand, it can be good to be able to curb crimes like money laundering. But on the other hand, if for instance, and I'm not saying that this could happen, but it does happen, you have a regime that is highly dictatorial.
Exactly.
Then they have the opportunity to
to stop it.
To stop your accounts,
Yes.
to restrict you from spending money. How do you balance against that?
That is the biggest risk, which we've been saying, because everybody would have an account with central bank, and the central bank, the governor or the head of the central bank is appointed by some president. They can abuse that spot. And that's why they are saying it's very risky to move to that space.
I want to ask you about what the future of work looks like for young Kenyans who are out there. What should they be preparing for?
Everybody, and the government actually is doing it. They are doing digital literacy. Everybody should be digitally literate. Everybody. Everybody, because I see people at the airport, you know, they have begun to deploy those machines where you self-check-in, and you see people giving the wide berth, going to a human,
or asking one of the people
to come and help them. The assumption is that everybody understands what they are doing, and we are going into, people like conveniences. I say digitalization gives conveniences. Everything is being digitalized. And see how much e-citizen has helped. That you apply for your passport at home, pay for it. You don't pay money to go to Nyayo house, come back again and go another day to check whether it's ready. It has improved productivity. It has improved the cost of doing business. And it's going to continue. But you must carry everybody. In order to carry everybody, you must have what we call digital literacy at all levels. Money in Kenya, for example, 80% can actually use mobile money. The good thing about digitalization is that all these problems that we've had of corruption would actually end. You can actually see where the money came from, and but as I said, the risk is that bad governments would actually end up harassing some citizens.
Harassing good people or people who are trying to do better. Dr. Ndemo, finally, I mean, we could discuss this until the cows come home. You are going to help a couple of students defend their PhDs.
Yes.
But I want to ask for one question. I want to ask you one question on your own reflections, and it comes from 2 articles that you've written, both very popular. When you stopped being PS, your phone stopped ringing. When you became the ambassador, you got thousands of calls. Between those 2 jobs, and of course, in the entire breadth of your experience, what are those things those gems, maybe 1 or 2 things that I can take away and learn from your own experience? Because there are people who are out there. Actually, this question was asked, I was asked to ask it specifically by a gentleman called Eric Mokaya, who runs Mwangu Capital. You do like some really fantastic spaces. What's your own reflection about your own journey, and what can you pass on to a generation?
I think everybody should learn from that, in the sense that for me, it was easier to overcome it. A lot of people who retire from public service, those who had a lot of power, actually, I found out they die within 3 years. Depression and other things. But what people must learn from that is that pick up whatever that you have and then move on. Me, I was able to go back to my chairman at the university and say, give me as many courses as you can, because those courses you find students coming, oh, Mwalimu, I want to see you, and now you're saying, yes, I'm talking to human beings. Let them come. But make yourself useful, because I began writing. I was so poor in writing articles, but over time I've improved, I'm improving, and I will continue to do that. If you stay home and sulk for being fired or losing the job, you would end up depressed. Depression leads to other diseases, and you lose your life for nothing.
Really poignant way to be able to end this this show. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you.
We hope that while your ambassador at Belgium will be able to reach out, Tracy and Nyakerario can reach out to confirm certain fake news. But generally, and I think this is one of the things that was even being asked in your in the committee that was approving your nomination, is that we feel a lot of people feel like, given your experience, this is we are losing somebody to the world.
No, I'll be around. You know, I know I'm supposed to go before August.
Yeah.
But in August, I have like 7 invitations to do a virtual talk in Nairobi. Which is a lot of work. But I'm not too far away to do something for my country.
I guess you're one Zoom call away.
Yes, yeah.
On the big picture, we have, a tradition that we are trying to begin. That in as much as you've shared your own pearls of wisdom with you, we are sharing something that is a bit of a reflection of the same.
Yes.
And Louis, who I had mentioned, is part of the set, has been doing something as we've been talking. And Louis, maybe you can show us what you've been doing. All right. All right. So I'm not going to show it to you. Hopefully this can be part of your mantle. You can show it to the camera.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that's our parting gift to you as you go to Belgium. Very best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. My eyes are getting older, so I should hide it from my wife.
So, I mean, you can find Louis's work, of course, on Instagram. His handles are also going to be on the description to this link of the show. Louis is a caricature artist. But this is our way of saying thank you.
Thank you so much. I also want to leave you with a small thing.
Yes.
I'm working with multiple groups of people around data analytics.
Yeah.
So any young people you have who want to do a master's in, those who did mathematics, data science, AI in undergraduates, we are going to get a number of scholarships for Kenyans to go and study. Many Kenyans.
This is in Belgium? Or?
No, just local. We are setting up, from September we should advertise.
Great.
And it will not be fake.
Guys, you heard it first here. Job opportunities coming up in September.
Yeah, no, study masters.
Yes, study
masters.
Yes, study, yes.
And once you do that,
then now there's opportunities.
Big time. Yeah. And then we would have seminars on how to use that to work at home and do your things and create wealth.
What a rich discussion this has been about the future of work, future of technology, with a person who's seen it all, who knows it all. Dr. Ndemo, thank you so much for joining us here on The Big Picture.
Thank you.
If you want to follow this series, you can follow it on all of our socials. We're on Twitter at AF Uncensored, on YouTube, Africa Uncensored, as well as Instagram, on TikTok. We're really all over the shop, but of course on our website, www.africauncensored.online. For the work that Tracy, Nyakerario, and the entire team at Piga Firimbi are doing, just go to the website, www.pigafirimbi.africauncensored.online, or you can find them on all socials at Piga Firimbi. Once again, thank you for joining us. See you on the next episode. Great guests all the time and big picture conversations. That's what to expect.